Hi all, this is Erica, aka ECR Horses 1901, and we're back with the second installment of So You're an F-Tier Breyer Model Horse. Based on the results of a viewer poll from a few weeks ago, this video's focus will be on Nokota, who I dubbed the controversial choice because I know a lot of people really like this mold. However, my first impression of him back in whatever month that was when I was doing my tier ranking videos was, and I quote, "one of my least favorite molds ever, and that he looks crazed and it is not appealing." Has taking the time to learn more about this mold's various iterations, plus having one on hand, helped improve my opinion? Stay tuned to find out. Before we begin this video proper, I did want to take a brief moment to make one thing very clear. I am still very much a novice in the model horse realm. I do my level best to make sure that what I am telling you is accurate, but there are limited reference sources out there, especially when it comes to talking about some of the more recent molds and models. It is never my intent to provide you with incorrect information, but sometimes that might inadvertently happen. I highly recommend reading the comments that I receive underneath each video, because often people who do know better will chime in if there's something that I haven't gotten quite right. I honestly see this as a form of open peer review, and I welcome such comments because experienced hobbyists are our best resource, truly. And so it is nice when people who know more than I do chime in. Alright, so, Nokota. Now, I first learned about Nokota horses a couple of years ago when I was staying in Boston for a few weeks and got the chance to visit their Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. Their exhibit on Native North Americans included information on the Nokota horse, along with these interesting drawings and an effigy. Even though I took an entire course on Native American history in college, whenever we were given the option to dig deeper into a particular tribe, I always chose the Nez Perce. Yes, because of the Appaloosa link. So this was the first time I had ever heard of this particular horse breed, and since I like blue roan horses, I thought they sounded really interesting. So color me surprised when I saw that Breyer had made a Nokota model, and it was this. This was 2007's Nokota horse, sculpted by Kathleen Moody. They certainly got the blue roan colorway correct, but this pose did not do it for me. Not to mention, as I said previously, the crazed looking face. But as we will learn, Breyer seemed to think the world of this mold because he has gotten a ton of use. The very same year he was released, a glossy version was used that year as a live show prize model for Breyer West, with a total of 13 made. Also in 2007, he was used for a Breyer Fest live auction lot as this Palomino Overo, and this also is apparently the only picture that we have of that, and he sold for just $900, on the low side for that year. But never fear, because he was also a Breyer Fest special run, the Dunn Pinto Sundance, of which 1,250 were made. In 2008, he appeared as Moon Warrior for the Just About Horses Connoisseur series. A dark bay Sabino with blue eyes, he was limited to 350 pieces as part of that series. In January through June of that year, Nokota was also used as a collector's choice horse. To quote the Identify Your Breyer website, these models were selected from suggestions submitted to Breyer by collectors via Breyer's website. And so Nokota appeared as Cheveo a Donalino. Once more, a glossy version of Cheveo was used as a Breyer Fest live show prize model with just 35 made. And when it comes to 2008's Breyer Fest, we're not done yet. A chestnut pinto version called Viajero was a 25-piece raffle model. Finally, in October of 2008, Nokota appeared at the Velvet Rope event in New Jersey as Burbank, a 100-piece special run in a Bay Roan Blanket Appaloosa. 2009's Breyerfest was the 20th birthday bash, and Nokota was once again selected as a Breyerfest live auction lot. Unfortunately, this is the best picture we have, but he was a, and I quote, wild dark brown Overo Pinto Mustang. Well, you can also see it right here, who sold for $1,000, which was low to mid-tier as far as prices went that year. The liver chestnut spindle top appeared at that year's Lone Star Experience in Fort Worth, Texas. He was a 12-piece special run who sold for just $275 at the time. I can't imagine what this horse is worth now, and I have not checked, because this was the same event at which Frankensteed appeared, of whom there were 100 copies, okay, 12 for this guy, 100 for Frankensteed, and he goes for $5,000 minimum. So, 2010 through 2011 brought a new regular run model. This is Isadora Cruce, a chestnut medicine hat pinto mare, based on a real-life horse. I do like that she has one blue eye and one brown eye. Nokota made a couple of appearances at 2010's Breyerfest. 4 glossy Isadora Cruce models were given out as live show prizes in the youth division, and a gray semi-leopard Appaloosa was again a Breyerfest live auction lot. Did he sell for a more respectable price this year? Yes, somewhat. He sold for $2,000 during a year when a lot of models sold within the $1,000 range. But there were also several well within the $2,000 range. And the top seller went for $3,000, a metallic chestnut Overo Pinto Esprit, this guy, who happened to be a new mold for that year. But never fear, because Nokota was also a one-of-one auction at that year's NAN, the North American Nationals for live model horse showing. The model was Crystallos, a pretty nice dappled gray. To round out Nokota's usage in 2010, he was 2010's traditional sized Halloween horse, bats in the belfry, of which there were only 2,500 available through Breyer Premier dealers. In 2011, Nokota appeared as a mid-states distributing / rural king model, the Grello Canorita, who also has, as you can see, sculpted on feathers in his mane and tail. Come April, he appeared at that year's Sunshine Celebration in Orlando and Ocala, Florida, as the 52-piece Everglades, who I guess is meant to look like an alligator pattern. I'm not sure it's entirely successful, but it does look kinda neat. And you know I don't normally like my horses looking like other animals. At that year's Breyerfest, he was the Saturday raffle horse, and this one was actually really cool. This is Muse, a simple brown horse maybe, but also a Pegasus, which changes everything. I would have stood in line for this one. That fall, he was the Cyber Monday web special, Fall in Love, who was bay with a falling leaves pattern, and limited to 200 pieces. It's fine, not entirely my thing. And this mold is ridiculous because it was used again as a Breyerfest live auction model in 2012. In fact, for once, that was the only thing this mold was used for that year. This time he was a glossy bay roan, and he sold for $5,000, which was one of the highest selling models that year. To be fair, this coloring and the gloss looks really good on him. 2013 was Breyerfest Denim and Diamonds year, and Nokota appeared in 3 different ways, making up for 2012, I guess. He was that year's Crystal Horse, Belle Meade. He was also Honky Tonk, the 3-day ticket early bird raffle model, of which only 3 were made. I'm assuming they don't still do early bird raffles. If you know for sure, please drop a comment. I don't think I've heard anything about one for the past couple of years. And finally, shocker, he was a live auction lot. A very cool vintage glossy spatter leopard Appaloosa. It is a nice contrast between the very dynamic, very modern looking mold and the old-timey colorway. How did he fare price-wise? I would say okay. He sold for $2,300, which was back to middle of the price range that year. And before I checked, I figured this was either going to be very popular or one of the lowest selling models. So middle of the pack was a surprise. Guess who was BreyerFest 2014 surprise model? It was Nokota, aka Pop the Cork. And as per usual for the surprise models, he came in a variety of colorways. There was this matte Palomino Pinto with 720 pieces, matte Bay with 660 pieces, a matte Chestnut Pinto with 540 pieces, and a matte varnish Roan Appaloosa with 240 pieces. For the glossies, we had all the colorways I just listed, all at about 120 pieces each. The super special variation that year was the Silver Charm Decorator, of which only 25 were made. If he's your thing, know that at the time this video was recorded, one is for sale on Triple Mountain's website for about $5,000. Given how rare he is, that is not too bad of a deal. The BreyerFest surprise horse was Nokota's only use in 2014, but that was a lot, so no real surprises there, I guess. However, they let the mold rest in 2015 as well. Honestly, it deserved a break because they had been trotting him out a lot since his introduction. He snuck back into use in 2016 as the flagship store special, a buckskin blanket Appaloosa called Toro. In 2017, the mold's 10-year anniversary, they made him part of the Big Cat series. I think he's probably the least cursed of all the horses in that series as Java. The pattern kinda works on him, I don't know what to tell you. He was also back as a one-of-one BreyerFest live auction lot with this glossy Bay Tobiano. This looks pretty good on him, not gonna lie. And the buyers agreed, because he sold for $6,000, which was among the highest selling models that year. 2018 included this interesting limited 3,500 piece run illumination. You can kinda see that there are fireworks in the blue there. I think I would like this a lot better if it actually didn't have those fireworks and was just the blue, red, and Clareware. Like, I think that would have been nice enough. He also appeared at November's Scottsdale Stampede in the form of Phantom Face, who is among my favorite Nokota models. He was limited to just 200 pieces. However, Nokota was allowed to rest from 2019 through 2021 with no regular runs, no special runs, no BreyerFest models, or anything else for those 3 years. In 2022 though, he reappeared as a BreyerFest live auction, a black Sabino Criollo with a factory roached mane. On a whole, the prices that people are willing to pay for auction models this year shot up. And believe me when I say that although this version of Nokota sold for $9,500, that was middle of the pack. In case you're curious, the highest selling model that year broke the all-time record for auction prices, and that was this glossy silver dun Pegasus, who sold for, get this, $65,000. Yes, you heard me right, that is $65,000. It is a nice model, but come on. It couldn't be me. For April Fool's Day in 2023, Breyer was very cruel and showed this really lovely Bay Criollo with a roach mane again. Apparently a test run from the archives, that is what it is described as. This horse is actually gorgeous. Like, probably the best that a Nokota has ever looked. I'm frankly surprised that this hasn't reappeared as an auction model, at least not yet. Not like I'd be the one buying him or anything if that was the case, but please, Breyer, don't keep him locked away. Nokota's last real outing was as Shelby. He was that spring's Gambler's Choice web special. So you could either pull a matte Chestnut Tobiano, a glossy Dappled Bay, or a matte Grulla Blanket Appaloosa. They're all pretty decent in my opinion, and we will talk more about that in just a moment. By the way, this is embarrassing to admit, but Until I started looking more closely at Nokota, and then especially once I had one of my own, who you will see in just a moment, I somehow completely overlooked that this is one of those molds that you can pose two ways. So you can either pose him rearing, as I think he's meant to be in this picture, with just his tail and his hind legs on the ground, or you can pose him so he's kind of balancing on both his back feet and one of his front feet. So no, in case you were wondering, I am not always super observant. So who did I end up with? Well, and let's watch me struggle to show you this horse as per usual. Here we go. Here is my Grulla, whatever you want to call him, Appaloosa Shelby. So my region had a swap meet a few weeks ago, and I went to that swap meet with just a few things that I specifically wanted to pick up, one of which was going to be a hopefully fairly cheap version of Nokota. And so one of the people that was selling had two of the Shelbys in this color, and they also had that glossy bay. And I had to really mull over which one I was gonna get. I kept going back and forth. They were the same price, and it was a very decent price for the Shelbys. I didn't know, because, you know, I like my glossies, and I think a nice glossy bay looks really nice. But I also do like Appaloosas, and I appreciated some of the details on this guy, so it was a really hard call, but eventually I decided to go with him. And so, by the way, this part of the video, I'm sure you'll be able to tell, but I am speaking off the cuff from this point to the end. It's probably gonna be not quite as smooth because I love scripting myself, but I decided that I was just gonna speak when we got to this section. So, now that I've had a Nokota for several weeks, and I've kept him out where my current mini Stormy Conga is where he's been chilling for a while. So, you know, I've had him around, I've been holding him, you know, he's just been here. And, you know, having now learned about the many times that Nokota has been used, I can kind of understand why people who have been collecting, you know, for a while might feel positively towards this mold. I still do have my issues with him. In my opinion, and I have not shown this guy, and I don't actually know if I plan on showing him. I might just throw him in next time just to see what happens. I also should note that I don't do photo shows. I thought I was going to, but that's something for another video. I feel like he would probably do better in a live show than a photo show, just because of his weird pose and proportions. You know, you might have noticed as I was pulling up different pictures of the different models that even people who presumably knew, I'm gonna guess in a lot of cases, that they were taking a picture for use on one of these websites, you know, and I would hope were trying to do the best that they could to take a really nice, flattering picture of him. Sometimes it seems like it's really difficult because of this head. You know, and again, having him in person, I don't think it looks as awkward, but in those pictures, I still can't help but notice that he is all head. You know, with a tiny body. Except that I think he is actually fairly proportional when you are actually looking at him. So yeah, I don't know. If you have had experience showing him live versus in photo shows, I would love to hear your experiences with that. Just because it seems like he'd be really challenging to get a good winning photo of. But again, I know almost nothing about entering photo shows, so I could be really wrong. I do think that after reconsidering him, that I don't think he's an F tier, because there were quite a few models that I found myself being like, oh, you know, that's actually really nice coloring. Or again, if I know we're getting the Premier Club new Criollo mold, so I don't think we're going to be seeing the Nokota being used as a Criollo anytime soon, especially the one with the roach mane. But I am not lying when I say that. I think that's a super nice model, and I kind of wish that that's what they were using for the Criollo, but that's neither here nor there. So, I don't think he's an F tier. I would feel comfortable putting him in C. And I do think it would be a straight C because, well, I don't know. I mean, it's probably a good thing I didn't get that granular with my tier ranking. Again, I think there could be individual models I would rank higher. There's probably some, though, that I would be willing to rank a little bit lower. So yeah, you know what, I think I'd be happy just putting him in C tier, knowing that there could definitely be some variation from one iteration of this mold to the next. But yeah, I really enjoyed learning about the Nokota mold while prepping for this video. I was glad to see all the different ones that are out there, and I'm not too sad about having one of my own. So good job, Nokota, you won me over a little bit. So I figured I'd leave my housekeeping bits to the end of this video. Just a general heads up, I am probably going to be having fewer videos over the next few months because the fall semester for me as a person in academia is super busy. Like, the busiest time of the year for me. While I have another script that I've already started, and at that same swap meet that I told you about where I got Nokota, I was very lucky to pick up, I think, 3 more of my F tier models for very good prices. So I already have those in the pipeline as well. I do think videos are going to come out on a less frequent basis over the next few months. And I'm not even sure if I can promise like, oh, every other week or once a month, because I really don't know. I mean, I would like to say I will certainly have them out more than once a month, but it's going to be hard to stick to a set schedule. So my biggest recommendation is to go ahead and press that bell that's next to the subscribe button, because that will give you notifications of when I do actually have a new video out. I will also do my best to announce and kind of give a heads up of what's coming on the community posts page, if that's something you're able to access whatever way you use YouTube. So that's all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll consider liking or even subscribing if you haven't already. And as always, your comments are always welcome. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.